Hi, my name's Mike. I had about 10 years in the automotive industry before I got into painting for sign companies and buildings. I'm going to show you an example of how to do a very quick and easy blocking of your vehicle. What I did here on this old VW bus is I've taken, this had a very large dent in the front of it. Metal was really stretched. I already have done the rough end of the body work. But I'm going to show you kind of a shortcut on how to do your own blocking using a composite DA sander and basically what we have right now is I have like a PCL a polyester primer on here, and I've taken a spray can of TranStar primer in black, and I've primed it gray, and then the gray has a coat of black, just that really fine, you see that really fine coat of black over it, just really a mist, and what that's called is guide coat. And what you're trying to do is to use your DA sander and sand it flat, not on an edge like this. Don't put any edge, but sand it flat and hold it with two hands and sand it as even as you can over that. And what you're looking for as you go is low spots and high spots. If you can see here, that is metal. And as soon as you see that, you have to stop, because if you see the metal, and this is a low spot right here where the black is coming through, I don't know if you can really see it in the video, and this is a low spot, so those will need additional polyester putty or primer putty, whatever you want to use on these low spots. And then these high spots, you want to stop right as soon as you start to see a high spot, you need to stop. So let me do a little bit of sanding and show you what it's like. So I have my sander here. I'm going to show you. You can't be able to hear me when I'm doing it, but you can kind of get an idea. Real even, nice and slow, not too much air, really slow speed for the sander, and just try and sand it as even as you can. You see here there's a low spot, so I just keep working that until I start to see any Bondo coming through or metal. Then I would stop at that point. Same way that you do with a hand block. Then what I'll do is reprime this whole section and fill any low spots like this here. We'll probably need some filler. I'll go ahead and fill that, this area here, and it may need some filling here, but I'm going to keep sanding that until the primer's almost off, where I have there's high spots popping through. When I see that, then I just stop and then reprime the whole thing. And then the next coat I'll do start with the DA, and then when I start to get rid of a lot of the black like here, I'll go ahead and start hand blocking it. This will save you a lot of hours when you're doing your own body work, but it does take some practice. I've been doing it 30 years, so you know, off and on. I don't do this full time anymore. This is what I used to do, but just on my own projects and stuff. So if you want to do your own, you can learn. It takes you time, practice. I'll show you how to do Bondo work on another video. So this is the first pass on this whole front section. You notice there's metal showing here. There's a low spot here where the black is. There's metal, if you can tell. There's parts where there's Bondo, where it was a little bit high from the Bondo. This is a high spot from the metal between there. It's kind of feathered in, but there's no black, so I'm going to say that that's probably okay for the first pass. Now if you really want to do a really nice paint job where you're trying to do like a show car or something like that, you would want at this point, of course, fill all your low spots, go through, sand them all. Then what you'd want to do is reprime everything and repeat the process maybe 2 or 3 times, and then the last coat you'd want to do by hand. Let me show you what you'd use. So here's a couple of options you have. You have something called a longboard. This one's broken. I hardly use it. This is the old school longboard with the clips. The new ones have stick-it paper, or they have what's it called? They have Velcro type system where it sticks. This is the old school type. Uses a stick-it paper, 3M sponge. This is for your little corners and places you can't get a hard block into. I use mostly this one right here, which is a 4-inch block, and it uses a stick-it paper. And what I would do on BMWs and Mercedes and stuff like that back in the old days is I would use a DA to do the first part, and then what I would do is just use one of these with 220 starting, and then I'd finish out with 400, and I could get a black Mercedes or BMW or Porsche to look perfect with this one, but you just have to be really good to use this small of a block and get it really nice, because it's all in the speed of the sanding and how hard you push. If you push really hard on the sanding, when you're doing your sanding, what will happen is then you'll put a wave into it because you're pushing. It's all in just using the block, sandpaper, and just going like this, not pushing on it and pushing really hard. When you push really hard, then what that does, that pushing pushes the metal in and you get a wave. So it's all in just letting the sandpaper do the work and keeping a new sheet of sandpaper in just in practice and feeling it when you're done, knowing what it looks like, what it should feel like when it's ready, which is pretty much, it should be very, very smooth with no waves if you're going to get it nice. I'll show an example of what something looks like when it's done. Okay, this VW bus here was done with only a DA, very, very little hand sanding. It's all done with a DA, so there's a slight wave to everything. If you look at it really close, you can see it, but not really. I mean, it looks pretty darn straight, and for the most part, even look at the sides here. That door is pretty straight. It had some pretty significant damage in it. That door, this was done only with a DA. There was no hand blocking done at all. I did everything on the long panels with just a DA, and it's pretty straight. There's a little tiny bit of a wave here and there, but if you really want it that nice on this straight of a metal, it's hard to do. And I haven't even sanded out all the orange peel yet, but you can get an idea how that looks. Okay, I'm going to do a real quick video about what tools I use to do the actual plastic filler work after it's been, before I primer it, before any of that stuff. After it's been stripped to bare metal, and I use a grinder like this one. This isn't a grinder actually, this is a polisher sander from Harbor Freight Tools. Costs about 30 bucks. If you catch it on sale, 50 if it's not. And then sometimes I use one of these long boards. It depends. And also I use a 3M, if I can find it, a 3M hard block, which is in one of my other videos. And most of my work is done with this, believe it or not. I actually use one of these, and I use a DA sander. So, which I use this one right here from Harbor Freight Tools, cheap one. It's like 50 bucks. Composite sander, it's the better one. There's another one that's like 20 bucks. I wouldn't touch one of those things. It lasts about 10 minutes and then it seizes up. But one of these composite sanders, they're lightweight. They break really easy. Unless you want to go spend a couple hundred and get a DeWalt or something, or a DeVilvis or something like that, then those ones are really good. But I just use one of those and use it till it breaks. Go buy another one. What I do is I strip it down. I use 36 grit on this, just like this. Here's a wore out piece. 36 grit. This is a hook loop system, and I'll sand it first with 36, and I'll flat sand it. Versus most people use one of these and they're sanding it on edge. Let me just give you an example. They're sanding it like this on edge, and that's what you have to do to get it to bare metal, get down in all the cracks, get all the paint off on your body work. And then what I'll do is I'll flat sand it so that my sander is always completely flat. You have to hold it really tight to do this, and you sand it flat. And I'll use 36 to start, and then I'll change to 80, and then what I'll do is I'll switch to a DA after that, and use a DA sander to sand my Bondo or plastic filler. I don't use Bondo. I hate Bondo brand. But you do it that way, and then finish it out with this, and just use a very slow speed. Don't have your sander whipping around. Try and do a nice slow speed. Have a big compressor where you have lots of air. And then if you're not very good at DA, then you'll have to use a longboard like this afterwards to do your final sanding. And I usually finish out with 80, and then I just bury it with a whole bunch of primer and do a lot of block sanding afterwards. If you're really good, you can use up to 180 or 220 on your Bondo and just put a light coat of primer on it and finish it. But that just, to me, I can do it this way, really rough. I can get it done really quickly. I can do a dent in 20-30 minutes, and then just do all my work with the primer, and then use polyester glazing over that. That way you get a nice finish and nice looking product when it's done, for yourself. This is for your do-it-yourself, or not for your body shop guys. You guys ought to know what you're doing by now. This is just a video for people to learn how to do their own body work, since they don't teach it in school anymore, and I learned in high school some of the basic things. I figured I might want to teach it to someone else and let you guys learn for yourself. Just be careful and don't let anybody see what you're doing, because you never know, somebody might complain or something. So do your own stuff. If you're going to do it at your house or whatever, be very incognito. Have fun.